TV2, the Pulse of Television. Time check, it's at 18 hours, and that's the time for the main news. These are the top stories this hour. The Constitutional Court has set Friday this week as the date for commencement of trial in a matter where UPND President Hakainde Hichilema has challenged the re-election of President Edgar Lungu. 3 foreign nationals have died, while others 4 Ethiopians sustained serious injuries after an accident on the Mbala Nakonde roads. Coming up in sports news this evening, the Netball national team has withdrawn from the Diamond Challenge International Tournament set for South Africa due to lack of funds. I'm Samuel Mechishi. The Constitutional Court has set Friday this week as the date for commencement of trial in a matter where UPND President Hakainde Hichilema has challenged the re-election of President Edgar Lungu. And the court will on Thursday this week decide on whether to allow the petitioners to amend their petition or not. The decisions were made in the chambers after the court listened to the arguments from both sides on Tuesday. This is a report.
It has become the center of attention across the country. This is because the public is waiting for the court to adjudicate on the petition filed by UPND President Hakainde Hichilema, who has challenged the election of President Edgar Lungu as president. And this week, the Constitutional Court is expected to deliver 2 important rulings on preliminary issues. On Wednesday, the court will pass a ruling on whether it will keep custody of the election materials and ballot papers as demanded by the petitioners. This application was, however, opposed by the respondents, saying the demand by the petitioner is not legally tenable because ECZ is not only allowed to have custody of the materials but also preserve them. They wondered why the petitioners want the third respondents to stop the verification exercise of ballot paper forms when it is mandated by law. But the petitioners argued that ECZ should not be allowed to keep the election materials because they have raised allegations against the institution. On Thursday this week, the court will also make another ruling on whether the petitioners should be allowed to amend their petition or not. This was after the respondents objected to the petitioner's application to amend the petition against the election of President Edgar Lungu. The court also informed the parties that trial in the matter will start on Friday this week. But before that, the court will have to hear another application by the petitioners to bring more witnesses. In this matter, President Edgar Lungu and his running mate Inonge Wina are being represented by Joseph Jalasi, Eric Silwamba Sakwiwa and Professor Patrick Mvunga, among others. On the other hand, the UPND President Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is being represented by Martha Mushipe, Keith Mwemba and Jack Mwimbu, among others. Hector Simfokwe, TV2 News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, President Edgar Lungu has returned Eric Silwamba, Joseph Jalasi and Lubinda Linyama as lawyers in a case where the UPND wants to find out who should act as president between President Edgar Lungu and Speaker of the National Assembly. When the matter came up today, Attorney General Ikando Kalaluka showed interest to join the matter because of public interest. The petitioners will now serve the documents on the president's lawyers. The case has since been adjourned to Thursday this week. And State House says there is no power vacuum in Zambia. State House spokesperson Amos Chanda says President Edgar Lungu is still the president and commander-in-chief of the Defense Force. Mr. Chanda says, according to the amended constitution, President Lungu, who is the incumbent, can only hand over instruments of power to the president-elect. He says President Lungu still has the constitutional mandate to preside over national matters, including maintaining peace and security. Mr. Chanda wondered why the same people misleading the nation are, on the other hand, lobbying the international community to request for a meeting with the president. He has also warned especially political leaders not to drag service chiefs into politics. And Mr. Chanda disclosed that the president is disappointed that some sections of the public and political players have continued commenting on matters that are before the Constitutional Court. He says President Lungu has since implored citizens to desist from commenting and give room to the court to conclude on the matter. Mr. Chanda was speaking at a press briefing at State House today. Meanwhile, Mr. Chanda says government is likely to conclude negotiations with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, once cabinet is formed and announced. He also disclosed that President Lungu will, in his 5-year term, focus on policies that will result in growing the economy. The independent broadcasting.
If you like, he has all the powers as if it were in January, when was inaugurated 26th January 2015. So he has all the powers of an executive president. He is still executive president. Assuming that this incumbent president was not president-elect, here is the situation. That president-elect cannot command the army. He cannot command the police. He cannot appoint. He cannot disappoint. So in short, the president-elect does not make any decision. It's the incumbent president who makes decisions. If it was the president-elect who was there side by side with the incumbent president, that president-elect will, in fact, the incumbent president will make decisions in consultation with the president-elect, not too well that this is the guy who will take over. But in this case, the president incumbent and the president-elect consults himself and he makes the decision.
The Independent Broadcasting Authority, IBA, has lifted the suspension of the Teji Community Radio license with immediate effect. IBA Board Chairperson Brigadier General Justin Mutale says the lifting of the suspension of the license follows a hearing accorded to the station this morning. He said the hearing that was supposed to be on the 14th of September was brought forward after the station appealed to the authority to bring the hearing date forward. Brigadier General Mutale said Teji Radio during the hearing admitted that it had aired a program during which a guest was inciting violence.
At the hearing, before a special licensing, compliance and consumer affairs committee of the board, the station admitted that it had aired a program during which a guest was inciting violence. The station presented that at its board meeting held on 19th August 2016 had actually instituted disciplinary action against the presenter of the program even before the IBA suspension. The station further submitted that it was remorseful and appealed to IBA to be lenient and consider lifting the suspension as it is the only source of information in the area.
And on Movie TV, IBA Director General Josephine Mapoma said the authority could not comment on its status as it had contested the suspension of the license in the Lusaka High Court. Ms. Mapoma said the station has been written to attend a hearing at IBA on 14th September, but Movie TV has not yet responded to the request to attend the hearing. In other news, some foreign nationals living in Zambia have emphasized the need for the country to uphold peace. The foreign nationals representing 3 countries say failure to do so can lead to chaos. They have called on government to hold peace endeavors with the relevant stakeholders to ensure that peace prevails in the country. Details in the following report.
Weeks after the August 11, 2016 general elections, the talk on the need to maintain peace in the country has been top on the agenda. Today, I caught up with Benjamin Manira, a 43-year-old man from Burundi. Benjamin has lived in Zambia since 2005, owing to war in his country. He knows too well the need for Zambians to uphold peace. He refused to appear on camera.
Pungankaleko indaba suggestion yanga pungankaleko indaba baitanako ma chiefs baitanako bantu bakuru bachikulire baonako mwamene banga chite discuss kuona chifukwa tungankale sochabe chifukwa vintu vimankala mu mtima aba bantu bakalipa rero vaendako pansi bati upezeka muinango ntawi ingankale manje ya kalipa kwa mbopita machari malevels yanka.
This is 28-year-old Pongambi from the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. He too shares the same story. He has lived in Zambia since 2012. And John Kurunzinza, 25, is from Rwanda. Having lived in the Zambian refugee camps for the past 17 years, John understands the need to remain peaceful.
ero bantu chamene bafunika kuchita bafunika chabe kugwirizana ndaba ndisema blacks ero tifunika chabe kugwirizana tinkaleche pamozi osati bantu kuzondana ndaba chamene chimalengeza pakuti bantu ba patulane ni chizondo. But
as Dwandis we have passing through any difficult problems such as war, I can tell Zambian people to be peaceful, to be united. It's very good in life. It's very important.
Earlier, Christian Word Center International Bishop Peter Mlenga called on politicians in the country to exercise maturity in the way they speak to each other.
It's prudent that we take that peace from our homes in the church, proclaiming the peace of God and also just enhancing that coexistence. I think that's where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. If people can begin to see a bigger picture, Zambia is bigger than any political party, I must confess. Zambia is bigger than any individual as a Christian nation. And I think that at last the Christian nation should materialize and not having it just in the status quo, but manifest it, and so that it can, truly become Christian nation.
The need for Zambians to uphold peace cannot be overemphasized. After all, it's one Zambia, one nation. Lufola Nkowani, TV2 News, in Lusaka.
3 foreign nationals have died, while 4 other Ethiopians sustained serious injuries after an accident on the Mbala Nakonde Road. And the Immigration Department in Kasama is holding 10 Ethiopian nationals in a case of suspected human trafficking. Immigration Public Relations Officer Namati Shinka confirmed in a statement to TV2 News that these are among 17 foreigners who were involved in a road traffic accident yesterday. Mr. Shinka says the accident happened after a Nissan L Grand vehicle overturned, killing 2 suspected Somali nationals on the spot, while another Ethiopian died later. He says the 4 that are injured are admitted to Mbala General Hospital. He disclosed that at the time of the accident, only 2 were found to have valid passports, which were void of entry endorsement stamps to prove legal entry. Mr. Shinka says the driver, a Zambian, is believed to have survived the accident, and investigations regarding his whereabouts are ongoing. Meanwhile, the department, through the Minister of Foreign Affairs, is making efforts to notify the victims' respective government representatives. Let's take our first commercial break. We'll be right back. The Supreme Court has upheld the incarceration of former Inktech Managing Director and Lusaka businessman Matthew Mohan for murder. Supreme Court Judge Elizabeth Muyovwe upheld the conviction and incarceration of Mr. Mohan today. Judge Muyovwe noted that the High Court was on firm grounds to sentence Mr. Mohan to death. She stated that Mr. Mohan's appeal lacked merit. Mr. Mohan was convicted and handed a death sentence in 2013 by the Lusaka High Court. Supreme Court Judge Gregory Piri delivered a verdict. Mr. Mohan was charged with murdering Lusaka Cyclone Hardware Director Sajid Itowala in 2009. Lusaka Province Medical Officer Kennedy Malama has called on Zambians to test for hepatitis, saying the disease is claiming lives due to negligence. Dr. Malama said the ministry is working on modalities to ensure that every health center is provided with hepatitis testing kit. He says this in order to help many people access the service. Dr. Malama told TV2 News that the most common type of hepatitis in Zambia is B and C, which is mostly transmitted through body fluids, contaminated food and water. Dr. Malama has also disclosed that the hepatitis vaccine has been introduced and babies born in the past 2 years have access to the vaccine.
Developing countries is that testing kits for hepatitis have not been readily available. At the moment we have, because we do screen our blood, before we transfuse a patient with blood, donated blood, one of the things we screen for apart from HIV is hepatitis. So the tests, yes, are available. But I'm sure moving forward, we need to ensure that these tests become readily available even outside the blood transfusion service. As you are aware, in the prevention of hepatitis as a country, we do have a vaccine, which we give to children at 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks of age. We are also discussing very seriously that people in high-risk occupations, like health workers and others, if they can start receiving the vaccine.
Hepatitis is the malfunction of the liver due to the introduction of foreign particles in the body. And still on health matters, Zambia Medicines Regulatory Authority Director General Benis Mwale has called on the public to be on the lookout for a green cross whenever they are purchasing medicine. Ms. Mwale disclosed that the green cross is an indication that the drugstore is regulated by ZAMRA and has met all the required safety conditions. She said ZAMRA will continue working tirelessly to ensure that all medicines and allied substances made available to the Zambian people are safe. Ms. Mwale was speaking in an interview with TV2 News today. She added that ZAMRA will also ensure that apart from being safe, medicines are effective and of high quality throughout the chain.
Is to ensure that they get their medicines from licensed premises. The premises that are licensed by ZAMRA, and there's a green cross. If you see a pharmacy with a green cross, it means it's licensed by the pharmacy, by ZAMRA. The objective of ZAMRA is to ensure that all medicines and allied substances, which include surgical gloves, disinfectants, etc., being made available to the Zambian people are safe.
And elsewhere, typhoid has broken out in some areas of Mbala district in northern province. So far, 34 cases have been reported and patients are admitted to Mbala General Hospital and to Lemane Clinic. Mbala District Commissioner Kedrick Sikombe confirmed the development to Zanisi in Mbala yesterday. And Mr. Sikombe has named the affected areas as Zambia Compound, which is also popularly known as Maraundi and St. Paul's. He also disclosed that no deaths have been recorded so far. Meanwhile, Mr. Sikombe has urged people in the area to always observe hygiene and ensure that they always boil water for drinking to help curb the disease. Let's pause for a second break. We'll do return to sports news. Now, some foreign news. A truck bomb has exploded outside a hotel in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, in a heavily secured area close to the gates of the presidential palace. The BBC's Ibrahim Aden in Mogadishu says politicians are among the injured and 12 people are reported to have died. He says politicians and journalists are among an estimated 30 people being treated at the city's main Medina hospital. The Islamist Al-Shabaab group, which is affiliated to Al-Qaeda, says it is behind the attack. The Somali Youth League Hotel is a popular meeting place for officials and has been targeted before. In sports news, the Netball national team has withdrawn from the Diamond Challenge International Tournament set for South Africa due to lack of funds. Netball Association of Zambia General Secretary Preacher Dingoma says this is because the team is struggling to raise money to take part in another world tournament set for Singapore. Ngoma says the team is expected to leave for Singapore this Thursday, but departure is in limbo because they have not met the funds required.
This is the Zambia national netball team preparing for the World Championship set for Singapore. The team is expected to leave for Singapore this week on Thursday. However, the team's departure is in limbo because the association has not raised enough money to fund the trip. This has forced the association to withdraw from the Diamond Challenge set for South Africa in September.
Well, it's unfortunate that we have pulled out of the Diamond Challenge owing to resources. We're currently struggling to raise resources to go to Singapore. We're due to leave on Thursday, but we're still trying to make sure that we get the tickets and money for the food, for food while it's in Singapore. And so we feel that it would be unfair to keep the door open for us for the Diamond Challenge.
The Singapore trip is a qualifying tournament for the Commonwealth Games as well as ranking tournament. Despite the uncertainty, the technical bench has already picked the final team of 12 players to represent the country in Singapore.
The list that we have is 12 players. All our international games require that we carry 12 players in each tournament. So we've got a list of 12 girls that have been training. We have 15 ladies in camp, so definitely 3 of them will not be part of the team.
Who are those 3?
It's Doreen Kasehela, Justina Mwale, and Carol Mono.
Time is ticking for the netball team, and as things stand, they will need a miracle. Katwishi Walia, TV2 Sport in Osaka.
And that wraps up our news this hour. A quick look at the headlines again. The Constitutional Court has set Friday this week as the date for commencement of trial in a matter where UPND President Hakainde Hichilema has challenged the re-election of President Edgar Lungu. And the court will on Thursday this week decide on whether to allow the petitioners to amend their petition or not. Three foreign nationals have died, while 4 other Ethiopians sustained serious injuries after an accident on the Mbala Road. And the Immigration Department in Kasama is holding 10 Ethiopian nationals in a case of suspected human trafficking. And the Netball national team has withdrawn from the Diamond Challenge International Tournament set for South Africa due to lack of funds. Netball Association of Zambia General Secretary Preacher Dingoma says this is because the team is struggling to raise money to take part in another world tournament set for Singapore. Stick to TV2 for the latest in both local and international news. Next news time will be at 20 hours. My name is Samuel Machishi. See you then.